Hello, how you doing? Welcome to the Fun Kids Bookworms podcast. My name is Bex and I love books. This week I have got two brilliant ones to tell you all about. I'll be chatting to Siobhan McDermott a little bit later, all about her brand new one, Paper Dragons, The Fight for the Hidden Realm. But first, shall we catch up with Sheena Dempsey? She has a brand new book out called Pablo and Splash, where we join some time-travelling penguins on an unexpected adventure. I am so glad to have you on the podcast because you've got a new book out called Pablo and Splash, and I think it might be the first kind of graphic novel that we featured, actually.
Oh, fantastic.
So this is exciting stuff for me. So if people don't know what that means, can you describe your book to us?
Yes, Pablo and Splash is all about two time-traveling penguins. So Pablo is kind of the cautious planner of the two. He loves Antarctica and he doesn't ever want to leave. And Splash is kind of hungry for adventure. So she's his kind of polar opposite. So she kind of pulls him into this adventure because she really wants to go on a sun holiday. So they end up kind of falling through a hole in the ice and discovering this underground laboratory, which there is a time machine called the Time Bender belonging to Professor O'Brien. So the two are kind of swept away into a time travel adventure all the way back to the dinosaurs. So that's kind of where their adventures begin.
It's so much fun. And these penguins are very cute, by the way. Did you have fun drawing all of the penguins in the huddle?
I really did, yes. Penguins are super cute and kind of easy enough to draw.
And am I right in thinking you have a little thing at the back of easy ways to draw as well? You've got little guides.
Yes, there's a kind of a step-by-step how to draw Pablo and Splash in the end matter at the back, yes.
Now, I also read that the inspiration for Pablo and Splash came from you and your husband. Is that right?
That is true. So how it all kind of started was that at the very beginning of the first kind of lockdown, I think nearly 4 years ago now, I had been kind of really wanting to make comics, and because I love reading them, and it was kind of an area that I was really interested in. So I decided to start a web comic, kind of about me and my husband as we navigated the pandemic. But I had us depicted as penguins, because basically penguins are easier to draw than humans. So I called it Isolation Penguin, and that's kind of where the two characters were born, and they were very much based on us. And then when I kind of came to make the series, I did change a few things around. So they did change a little bit as I developed the characters further. But definitely the whole thing originated with Isolation Penguin.
I love this. So are you more Pablo or are you more Splash?
I'm definitely more Splash. But I kind of when I came to develop the characters, I did kind of switch things around, and I made my husband, I kind of gave him my my anxiety, and I made myself very carefree and adventurous. So he became more kind of cautious and anxious than he is in real life.
Hey, well, you're the writer. You can do what you want, I suppose. Exactly. You can make it whatever you want. Now, I'm really fascinated by the concept of because obviously you're drawing it and you're writing it. Did you? I speak to some authors sometimes, and they sometimes say, we didn't know where the story was going to take us. We just kind of wrote it and wondered what happened and saw where the characters went. But how does it work when you're drawing it as well? Did you plan it out, or did you just think, I wonder what I'm going to draw next?
More planned than that, definitely. So I basically was working with my editor, and I decided that I would do it I would kind of plan it out chapter by chapter, and I made quite a kind of detailed breakdown chapter by chapter of what each chapter would kind of contain, and then I was kind of given quite a good bit of freedom to create dialogue and action and everything else as I went, while drawing the pictures at the same time. But it was definitely planned. It wasn't just randomly made up. It was very planned.
And so what made you plan to take them to the land of the dinosaurs? Was there any reason in particular?
I can't remember exactly why. I guess I was kind of feeling dinosaurs time travel, it's really been done to death. But I was like, yes, but has it ever been done with penguins? Probably not. So I thought that it was a good, time traveling dinosaurs. It's kind of you can't go wrong really with dinosaurs. And it's so far ago, it's such a long time ago, that I think it's just fascinating for children. They love dinosaurs anyway, and you can't really go wrong, I think. So yeah, I was like, let's do it.
Absolutely. And of course, now you've got some time traveling penguins. Will we be seeing them going on some other adventures as well? Because I feel like now they've found this lovely time machine. How can they not?
Exactly. So at the end of book one, Pablo's really happy to be home, and Splash is kind of well, we might go on another holiday. And he's like, but at the start of the second book, she's ready for more adventure, and he has to be kind of talked into it again. But they end up going back to the Ice Age in book two, because they go back to the lab and Professor O'Brien is missing, so they have to find her.
Oh, I love the idea of penguins in the Ice Age. That kind of makes sense, to be honest.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's wicked. Now, before we let you go, Sheena, we do have something on Fun Kids where we do a little quick fire round of questions with every author, if that's okay.
Of course.
It's a kind of this or that game, basically,
Okay.
just to find out who you are, more about you. So first up, pretty easy, books or Kindles?
Oh, I think for comics and graphic novels, books, and then for fiction that doesn't have any pictures, I'd choose Kindle.
That's a good answer. Heroes or villains?
To draw villains, but to write heroes.
What makes a good villain to draw? What's interesting about that?
Expression. It's just really fun to really like embrace a really evil villain when you're drawing. It's just like really, really fun.
Get the dastardly view. I like that. Film adaptation or TV adaptation?
Film.
Holiday in the sun or holiday in the snow?
Ooh, that's a good one. I have to go with the sun because I'm Splash.
I was going to say, I don't ask everybody that one. That was specific to this book. Beginnings or endings?
Oh, beginnings are always easier, aren't they?
Yeah, fair enough. Hogwarts or Narnia?
Hogwarts.
Laptop or write by hand?
I have to say iPad, which is where I made a lot of the I made all the roughs and text for book one on my iPad. So I'd have to say iPad. So neither.
Great. No, I love that because I always love talking to illustrators about how they do it first. That's interesting. Penguins or dinosaurs?
Penguins all the way.
Out of interest, you do draw a lot of animals. Is there something you love in particular about drawing animals?
I just think you can have so much fun with animals in a way. Just drawing people is just not as fun, in my opinion. Yeah, some people are really brilliant at drawing, people, and I just prefer drawing animals. I just think it's just more fun.
No, fair enough. Do you write 9 to 5 or do you do it whenever you fancy?
I work quite long hours, especially with graphic novels, and like there's just a lot of drawing involved, so a lot of drawing hours. So I probably work 10, 12-hour days a lot of the time. So yeah, it's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. That's more than I can imagine. Paddington Bear or Winnie the Pooh?
I always think like honey or marmalade. It's kind of, yeah, one likes honey, one likes marmalade. And I think I prefer honey, so I'll go with Winnie the Pooh.
You know, that's one of the best answers I've had to that. You're right, it is, but basically honey versus marmalade. That's blown my mind. All right, and finally the last one, the big one, salt and vinegar or cheese and onion?
Cheese and onion, definitely. Much prefer.
No, really?
Yeah. Definitely. A good strong cheddar crisp is good.
You're all about the strength of that cheese. How do you feel about the strength of the onion as well?
Yeah, the more oniony, the better, I think. Yeah.
Wow, that's the most controversial thing I think I've ever heard on this podcast. But you know what? I'm here for it. That's all right. We'll respect that choice. Sheena, thank you so much for telling us about Pablo and Splash. And I believe we can get it in all bookshops pretty soon. Is that right?
Yeah, so it should be, it's in supermarkets and bookshops and everywhere you get your books.
It's a beautiful, brightly, wonderfully coloured book. And Sheena, thank you so much for telling us all about it.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Sheena Dempsey. What a brilliant, beautiful book that is. Next up, we've got Siobhan McDermott. Now, she's got a brand new book out, her first book ever. It's called Paper Dragons, The Fight for the Hidden Realm. Let's find out more. Can you tell us about our lead character? Where do we find her?
Yeah, absolutely. So the lead character of my book is Deeking. She's 12 years old. And the book kicks off with her being invited into a magical underwater school where children train to become immortal. Obviously, though, once she's there, she very quickly realizes that things aren't as easy as she thought. And instead, she has to take part in monthly challenges or risk being sent home. And meanwhile, back above the waves, there's a mysterious grey-eyed spirit that's lurking closer, and the children who do fail their challenges are beginning to disappear.
Oh my goodness, there is so much going on in this book. I don't even know where to begin. So let's go for it. So she wants to become a silhouette, is that right?
Yes, that's right. So a silhouette is a child who's training to become immortal. You have 1 full year, 12 challenges as a silhouette, and then you gain the power of immortality.
And what's the, I mean, obviously the positive of being immortal is that you live forever, right? It's exciting times.
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of what everyone wants to go for. So in my world, immortality, it isn't just a case of you being stuck at one age, but the people who are immortal can pop up and down between ages. So it means her teachers, most of the time, their standard teacher age, they're around 40, 50, but sometimes they can pop back down to 12 themselves.
I love this idea. And being underwater as well, was it quite exciting to like build this world? How did you do it?
Yeah, so this is hugely inspired, the underwater part, by my own childhood. So I grew up in Hong Kong, and a lot of people, they think of Hong Kong, they think of a really big, bustling city. But actually, Hong Kong is made up of over 260 islands, and the best way to go between them is always by ferry. So it meant when I was living there, I lived on a different island to some friends and my grandparents. So when we wanted to see them for dim sum or just to meet up, we'd have to hop on the ferry, and I would spend the full 30 minutes of that ferry ride just staring past the waves going, surely there's so many buildings around us. There has to be something under the water as well.
And yeah, is that where your ideas came from for like what would be under the water, I suppose?
Yeah, definitely. So it really was a case of when I was putting this book together, I pulled a lot of my favorite memories, both from living in Hong Kong and visiting other countries, and just made it almost a kaleidoscope of just my personal experiences.
I know a lot of people as well are loving your use of jellyfish in the book too.
Amazing. Yeah, I definitely wanted to bring in jellyfish. The jellyfish, it was actually more of a challenge for myself because, to tell you the truth, I am terrified of jellyfish.
Me too, yeah.
Yes, so scared of them. One time, actually, my cousin from Hong Kong, we were out swimming and she was the one who got stung by a jellyfish. But I had such a panic that they threw the life ring out to me instead. Really? She's never really let me live that down. But it meant when I was writing the book, I almost set myself the challenge of finding some way to make them fun and exciting and enjoyable, just to try get my fear of jellyfish out of my system.
Oh, I love that. That's a great way of doing it. Big fan of that. And tell us about the trials that we see in the book as well. What kind of stuff do we go through?
Yeah, so one of the first challenges Deakin faces is it's with the tutor who specialises in animals. So in the first challenge, a bunch of animals are released and the children all have their own animal that they need to get back in the box within the hour. So these animals, they're not just your standard animal. Instead, they all have a heightened power or ability. So the creature she's looking for is a giant salamander. But unfortunately for her, the salamander can turn to water. So it makes it much more difficult to find him.
It must have been quite exciting for you to think up all these trials and challenges as well.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed it. It was quite fun for me because sometimes, to be completely honest, I wasn't quite sure how she was going to pass the challenge as I started writing it.
Yeah, I can imagine you were like, oh, what's going to happen here? Let's see. What do I write? What comes up with? Yeah,
exactly.
It is interesting talking to writers, and some of them know exactly what they're going to do, and some of them have no idea until kind of they just start writing, basically.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm definitely that second half where I'll have a rough idea. I'll set out, this is what I want to do in this chapter. But then sometimes the characters kind of take control and go, no, we don't want to do that. We're going to go in a different direction.
Love it. That's great. And I heard as well, because as you mentioned, you lived in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. You've had like Chinese and Irish influences. That's fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, I lived there. My mum obviously grew up there. And I really wanted to bring in a lot of stuff from both sides. So in Chinese mythology, I was really lucky that I got to grow up listening to both Irish legends and Chinese stories as well. So I really wanted to bring both of those in. And interestingly, the idea of immortality is in both. So in Chinese mythology, there's so many stories with either people wanting to become immortal or the immortals themselves getting up to all sorts of hijinks. And then on the Irish side as well, one of the most popular stories is the story of Oisin and Tír na Nog, where he goes to the land of the immortals. So I think it was really both sides of my family kind of merging together really nicely in this book.
That's a really interesting crossover. That's really fascinating. And it must be quite nice for you to bring those two bits of your background together.
Yeah, exactly. It's been really fun, especially, the earliest version of this book. I ran a lot of it by my sister. So she was also my first critic. And it was quite nice because she, like me, would have been someone who has an Irish parent and a Chinese parent. There's not too many of us around. We always try to find more, slightly like a unicorn. But
it's great that she helped. And also at the back of the book as well, you've got a lovely little glossary of names and like Easter eggs that you've like hidden kind of little jokes and things in names as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm aware as well, a lot of the names, they might be new words to people if they don't speak Cantonese, which I'm expecting a lot of readers not to have that. My Cantonese itself is quite poor. My cousins always tease me that my accent isn't great anymore. But I wanted to let people know that there's all hidden clues about either people's personalities or even their position in the world hidden within their names. And I've also tried throughout the book to drop in mentions of various like dishes that I love to eat in Hong Kong, my favorite things to have in dim sum. So again, a lot of this might be new to people, but I promise you, if you bring this book to a dim sum restaurant with you, point out a few of the words, go, I'd like to try this. You will love what shows up. Everything is delicious.
I love it. You provided us a story and a menu. That's great. Happy days. Now, before we let you go, Siobhan, we do a little quiz on Fun Kids of authors. It's like a this or that kind of round, just to kind of like find out a bit more about you as an author, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wicked. All right. Well, first one is easy. Books or Kindles?
Oh, definitely books. Love a book over a Kindle.
Heroes or villains?
Ooh, do you know what? I'm going to say heroes. I know a lot of people love a villain because villains can have very complicated backstories, but I think heroes are just as complex, and it's quite nice to see that there's different types of heroes. You don't just need to be a superhero. It can just be someone standing up to their friends. That's its own form of hero.
I appreciate that, yeah. Film adaptation or TV adaptation?
Ooh, TV adaptation. I think if it's a really fun, exciting world in a book, you want the TV adaptation. You don't just want 3 hours. You want to be greedy. You want maybe 10, 12 hours of exploring it through TV.
Beginnings or endings?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I'm going to go with beginnings because there in the beginning, there's so much potential and you have no idea what's going to happen.
Oh, great answer. Hogwarts or Narnia?
Ooh, I'm going to go with Narnia. Definitely Narnia.
Is it because of the magical world? Did you kind of like grow up reading that book as well?
Honestly, I just immediately thought of the Turkish delight and I went, yes, that's a great snack. I'm going Narnia.
Good reason. A laptop or write by hand?
Write by hand, although my handwriting is notoriously scribbly to the point where when I look back over my notes for a new idea, I do have to sit there for a good 10, 15 minutes trying to decipher what I've written.
I'm impressed you write by hand at all, to be honest. That is amazing. And do you do that 9 to 5 or do you do it whenever you fancy?
Whenever I fancy. What I'll do is I'll choose some time and go, this is going to be my time to write, get myself a nice cup of tea, put on my slanket, become a bit of a gremlin, put on some Taylor Swift and just sit there and write what I can.
I think you've described most people's dream day, to be honest. Pop on a slanket, listen to Taylor Swift, lovely stuff. Paddington Bear or Winnie the Pooh?
Oh, Paddington. Has to be Paddington. He's such a sweetheart.
That was a very quick answer. I love it. And finally, the big one, the last one, salt and vinegar or cheese and onion?
Oh, okay. I am going to be controversial and say ready salted is better than both of those options.
You know what? Okay, I'm going to give you that because that is my second. My favourite is salt and vinegar. It's a hidden test. But ready salted, I can get on with board with that. Yeah, that's fair enough. I'll give you that one. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, Bex.
The hidden third option that you've deciphered for me there. You've picked it out. Lovely stuff. So we should say Paper Dragons is the beginning of a series. Is that right? Do we get another one as well?
Yes, that's right. So hopefully the next one will be out next year.
This is exciting stuff. So in the meantime, we can get Paper Dragons, The Fight for the Hidden Realm in all of the bookshops and libraries everywhere. Siobhan, thank you so much for telling us all about it.
No problem. Thanks so much for having me on.
That's pretty much it for Bookworms this week. Big thank you for listening. Thank you, of course, to Sheena Dempsey and Siobhan McDermott. If you've enjoyed the podcast, make sure to tell all of your friends about it. Like, subscribe and follow wherever it is you're listening. And I'll see you soon. Bye.